Seahawks win their first game under Mike Macdonald's head coaching debut, and boy, do they look pretty in those retro uniforms. Now, before I explain more about this game versus the Broncos, here's a word from our sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a mobile ticketing app for sporting events, concerts, and other events. They make the buying experience easier by the app ranking each ticket from 0 to 10 to see if you are getting a good deal, and you can see exactly where you are sitting. I regularly use that app, and I have had nothing but a fantastic experience with SeatGeek. Use my promo code RoofTopSports to get $20 off of your first purchase. Link to the code, app, and website will be in the description, so take advantage, and thank you. And yep, if you plan to go to that next Seahawks home game, use that promo code RoofTopSports to get $20 off of that purchase. Save you some money, right? So here are some of my takeaways from that Seahawks victory, especially under the debut of Mike Macdonald, the new head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. I really did like the defense. It definitely nailed the first impression, and that's what I would have expected out of Mike Macdonald since he was the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, and he did really well along with John Harbaugh, not Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, the brother. So other things I did like was Kenneth Walker with his running game. He did pretty well, especially in that second half when he really turned it around for the Seahawks, especially with that terrible offensive line, which, by the way, that offensive line was just absolutely just horrifying to watch, making Geno Smith look really, really bad. And hopefully the Seahawks can definitely make those adjustments and make good out of that offensive line, actually improve it. And also, there seemed to be some concerns out of Kenneth Walker. He had sustained some kind of injury, but hopefully he will be okay. Haven't really heard much of new word, and if you did hear any word about the injury, definitely let me know in the comments so we can stay up to speed. But I did definitely take some notes out of the Seahawks game, so I'm just going to go through it, and boy, when it first started, it was an absolute disaster. Geno Smith started by getting completely just sacked, and then immediately he threw an interception, and it was a very ill-advised throw. And it was like the second time in a row the offensive line really let the offense down, which led to that interception. But luckily, the Seahawks defense did respond very well, which forced the Broncos to hit that field goal, which, by the way, Bo Nix, the Ducks quarterback, he had his NFL debut, and he is hoping to be the future of the Denver Broncos offense and quarterback, especially since Russell Wilson didn't do very well, especially with the Broncos in those 2 seasons. But throughout the entire first half, the offensive drive was just absolutely awful. There were penalties on the offensive line, which led to field goals and just there's also 2 safeties in that first half as well, which was really bizarre. But at least the Seahawks made up for these bad offense through their defense, including an interception against Bo Nix, especially in the red zone. But man, the 2 safeties was what absolutely drove me nuts, and that was just out of that first half. And throughout that game, I was thinking, man, are we going to have to deal with this bad offense again and bad offensive line? I was like, maybe under Pete Carroll, I was like, okay, fine, because he didn't really do anything good with that offensive line. And now we're dealing with it again with Mike Macdonald. Now, granted, this is the first game. But I was still concerned about that first half. And to end that first half, pretty much, there was a fumble on the punt return forced by Denver. And that also got me really nervous going into that half, because I was thinking, how are the Seahawks going to come back from this? Or either it's going to be a really ugly win, or it's just going to be a really embarrassing loss either way. The bright spot for the Seahawks, though, on the offensive side in the first half was that Geno Smith made a nice touchdown run. Before I explain how the second half went, here's a word from our sponsor, SoFi Bank. SoFi is an online bank and a personal financing company offering financial diverse products. They hold the naming rights to the home of the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers, named SoFi Stadium. They offer amazing checking and savings accounts where you can get up to 4.6% on savings accounts. There are no monthly fees to maintain the accounts, and they have over 55,000 no-fee ATMs around the United States. You even have access to a budgeting program, stock trading, and insurance programs. Join SoFi and get $25 for joining and or $25 for opening a stock trading account. Links are available in the description. And thank you. And lastly, I am not a financial advisor, so either find a professional financial advisor or go with your own gut. And for more information, they will be available in the description of this video. And now going into the second half, and immediately the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker, their running back, he ran pretty well, which eventually he scored that touchdown to give the Seahawks the lead. And then the Seahawks forced the fumble on the next defensive possession, and that forced the field goal. And throughout the game, Kenneth Walker was running really well, and some couple of nice catches by Tyler Lockett. Yes, he's still hanging around. He still has that longevity. Kudos to him. And that eventually led to a Zach Charbonnet receiving touchdown thrown by Geno Smith, and it was a very beautiful throw by Geno. And I know it's usually rare for me to compliment Geno Smith because I'm not even really a Geno Smith fan, but at least in the second half, he did hold it together somewhat. And eventually, defense was rising to the occasion again with a Tariq Woolen interception by the throw by Bo Nix. And then eventually, ultimately, Bo Nix did score a touchdown to close it to within 6. And there was a time in the offensive possession where if the Seahawks were not careful and if they did have to fumble, if their drive stalled, they would have been forced to punt, and that would have given Bo Nix an opportunity for a game-winning drive. But on the third down, Geno Smith made a throw to Tyler Lockett, and he made a very clutch catch, and that pretty much just iced the game. And then the Seahawks won, and thankfully they did, especially on Mike Macdonald's coaching debut. Now let's take a look at the stats. Now let's go to the Broncos offensive side. There was Bo Nix with 138 passing yards, 2 interceptions, did lead the team with 35 rushing yards, including scoring a touchdown, and that was pretty much the only offensive touchdown the Broncos had was scoring that touchdown. Other than that, it was all field goals throughout the entire game, and it was Will Lutz who had 3 field goals, which accounted to 9 points. And also, let's not forget about the other 4 points, which was accounted by the safeties by the Broncos defense due to that problematic offensive line. Now let's go to the Seahawks box score. It was Geno Smith with 171 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He was kind of more of a game manager with the exception of that first drive where he threw that interception, which was really painful to see. Kenneth Walker with 103 yards on 20 carries with a touchdown. Geno Smith got 30 yards himself on the rush with a touchdown. And other than that, Zach Charbonnet caught a touchdown. And on the receiving end, DK Metcalf was quite disappointing. 3 receptions for 29 yards. Tyler Lockett, 6 receptions for 77, had some very clutch catches. Everyone else didn't really contribute, including Jackson Smith-Njigba, who I really have expectations for because I did add him to my fantasy football team. And yes, he was on my starting lineup, and he failed for me miserably. But that's a whole different note. So overall in the stat line, I liked it most from Kenneth Walker, and hopefully he is healthy going forward because he may have some injury concerns. So we'll have to stay updated on that. And again, if you know of any updates that are going on, please put that in the comments and do let us know so we are all updated as Seahawks fans. Now, before I go into the next game, here's a word from our sponsor, Glance LED. Are you looking to optimize your office, studio, or man cave? The Glance LED ticker may be for you. It is a customizable LED display providing real-life sports scores, stock prices, crypto, the news, and even the weather. Use my promo code RoofTopSports to get 10% off the purchase, and thank you. And the link to Glance LED will be in the description of this video. Now going into the next game, the Seahawks will be in Foxborough against the New England Patriots, and here's how the Patriots actually did. In the first game this week, they actually held a surprising upset against the Cincinnati Bengals. They held the Bengals to just 10 points, so either that the Bengals were just really bad, or maybe that the Patriots defense must be that good. I mean, let's take a look at the defense that they even did. Looking at the team stats, I mean, total yards, I mean, they did allow 224 yards, but they did limit the running game, it looks like, and they did cause 2 fumbles, no interceptions. They forced 4 punts, and they sacked 3 times. They sacked the quarterback 3 times. That was Joe Burrow, because historically the Bengals tend to have offensive line problems, which is why I don't expect the New England Patriots game to be any easier, because of looks like they were able to get to Joe Burrow, and I do expect them to be able to get to Geno Smith. So I do expect this to be a very challenging game. And the Patriots are led by their quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, the backup quarterback actually, who is actually the third-string quarterback behind Tom Brady at one point during one of their Super Bowl runs, because Drake May is just sitting. They are just waiting on him until he is ready to go, so they're not going to really rush him. But going into next week's game, I expect this to be a challenging game, and I hope the Seahawks figure out a way to limit the Patriots, which I would think they should be able to, especially against the caliber of a Jacoby Brissett. He's at least a serviceable backup, so I still kind of do expect the Seahawks defense to be able to handle them. I think it's just going to be a matter of how the offense handles the Patriots defense. But again, it's just the first game, so it's not really a fair way to judge the Patriots or the Seahawks, so we'll have to look into next week. Now, there is one more thing I want to cover for this video. It is about my fantasy football team, and unfortunately, I did lose. But here's the thing. I do run a fantasy football league, and I do actually do content for it where you've seen me do shorts where I'm ranting about my fantasy football team or maybe even celebrating it. And here are some examples to it. DK Metcalf doesn't even play for my fantasy football team. And once again, I lose and go 1-6.
Well, at least I'm 2022 fantasy football champion.
And here's Drew Lock. And here is the pass. And that's going to be... That is caught by DK Metcalf! That's got to be caught. You got to keep it running. And I won. Oh! I won! I won! Oh my God! I just won in fantasy! 131.9 to 131! No, no! 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 No!
Well, at least I'm 2022 fantasy football champion.
Shut up! And I also do fantasy post-game shows. Now this time, you did see me last year. Maybe some of you saw me do some of those fantasy post-game shows on my YouTube channel, but not many of you really saw it, and I guess there wasn't really much of an interest to see it, which is okay. I mean, I just got to know the market better. But here's the thing. I will still do the fantasy post-game shows, but in order to get the access to those, you got to join my membership, which is just $5 a month. And not only will you get that, you'll get to see basically my diary of my softball season, of how that went for the past season of 2024. It was my church league and even my other league that I also play. Yes, I play in 2 leagues. And you'll get access to some emojis where some of them is a face palm or me expressing excitement. So you can use those throughout the live shows that I will be doing throughout the entire season of football. And of course, you see it in Mariners baseball as well. But those are some of the information that I just wanted to share for you. And hopefully you'll take advantage of my membership. But that's going to do it for the rest of my show. I just want to say thank you very much for watching. And if you did like this and you do want to get more Seahawks updates, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And thank you for watching, and go Hawks.